Hi everyone, and welcome to an exclusive chat about Fabinho with Mick Moran from the Kopite Podcast. Obviously, today the news has broke that Fabinho isn't part of the pre-season squad that's flying out from Liverpool, and Henderson is. So, Mick, first of all, welcome in.
Nice one. Yeah, a bit of an impromptu one. I think we expected this news, didn't we? But I think once the names have been confirmed, it's obviously it's reality now. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Liverpool react to it. But yeah, nice one for inviting me on. I think it's me debut, isn't it? So yeah, nice one.
Yeah, welcome on. Just on the Fabinho one though, obviously no one's really sure with Henderson. So Fabinho is obviously now concrete that he's leaving. 40 million for a player we've had the best out of, for me, is a brilliant deal. As much as I'm gutted to see him go, because we wouldn't have won everything without players like Fabinho, with obviously players like Henderson as well. The Hoover, he's known as. What do you feel about the situation? Do you feel like it's the right time, given the value?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and he's been so good on it for so long. So it's quite sad to he was the best in the world for a long time. So it's hard to kind of wrap your head around what he's now become. And I think last year he redeemed himself a little bit, but I think that was because of the system we set up. It allowed him to thrive in a not he didn't have as much space to be in charge of. Trent was helping him in there, so he looked a lot better. But I still don't think he was ever going to be the same as what he is. And he's obviously made the decision that it's going to be nice to go over to Saudi Arabia and play in that league. So I mean, it's fair play to him, but I just hope Liverpool have got a plan ready. I know Lavia's been linked. I know I've seen the links this morning, and we've apparently there's Amrabat and Calvin Phillips and a whole host of other names that I think on paper don't sound as sexy as a Caicedo or a Tchouaméni. All the names that are Declan Rice, for example. But Liverpool are never going to be in the equation for players of that, not that caliber, but of that price. I think that when it's getting over 80 million, Liverpool are just never going to be involved in those conversations. I think the quicker you get used to that, the more happier you'll be generally. But yeah, I think it's one that, yeah, I didn't expect it. I think a couple of weeks ago we were saying Thiago was going to be the person to go, and then all of a sudden Hendo's potentially going, Fabinho's looks like he's definitely going. So it's a bit of a mad one to kind of wrap your head around after it being quiet for so long, for the majority of the summer. But I think probably the more I think about it, I think the more it makes sense for me.
Yeah, so if we think back to the 1st of July 2018, when we pretty much had the deal done when it was announced, it was one of them signings that you're thinking, wow, wasn't expecting that, but what a signing that was. He's gone on to win the Champions League, the Super Cup, the Premier League, the FA Cup. He's gone on to win the lot, bar in the Europa League, which, would have been nice for everyone to finish off with, but we are where we are. At that time of the signing, it felt like a bit of a game changer, doesn't it? We got the spine in. What was your thoughts when you think back?
Yeah, it was that signing that was just kind of came out the blue, didn't it? And it was it felt at the time it was an iconic and a marquee signing, if you like, and he went on to be that. I think he's justified all of the expectations that we had of him from being as good as he was, and like you said, the trophies we went on to win, the price we got him for, which was, when you think back how good he's been, is we got him for a snip, like we tend to do with most other players. But yeah, I think it's probably the right time for him to go, because I saw a funny tweet before, I can't remember who it was, said last year aged him 10 years, so 40 mil for a 39-year-old, not too bad. I quite enjoyed that, but yeah, 29, I think when you think of Fabinho, you just think he looks older, because I think he's never been the quickest, but when you look back, had a few look at the highlights from a couple of seasons ago, just to refresh myself how good he was, and you forget how good he was, like you said, the Hoover, just that space, those spaces where he was just eating up the opposition, he'd just take them out, obviously the tackle on Suarez and that iconic game always just comes straight to the forefront of your mind, but just so many iconic moments, goals against City. So he's got loads of great moments in there, apart from being a good fella as well, and a good influence in the dressing room. So he'll be a miss, and a massive miss, I suppose, a lot, especially if Hendo goes as well. But as long as Liverpool have got the heads on right and can go straight into the market and get someone in, then I'm nervous but excited at the same time, because I think you can worry about it as much as you want, but you just have to get on board with the ride and go. It's still exciting as well. Liverpool are going to probably have a brand new midfield come the new season, and it's going to be probably some teething problems, but it's exciting as well.
Yeah, you're right. And obviously, I've seen the links this morning, what Melissa Reddy's posted out, the likes of Amrabat, the likes of Lavia, players like that. And obviously, they don't scream anything out to me, but I kind of feel as though Fabinho is one of them players where it has to be right. The signing has to be right, because we were going into the season thinking that Lavia was coming in and Fabinho was going to be still in that position. And obviously, it was a rotation between the two. So that makes me nervous. It does. And obviously, with the likes of Henderson still travelling, I still kind of feel as though if the right money comes in, he'll still be getting off. So again, is that 2 signings then you need? Because there's no way we can afford to let 2 of them go without bringing 2 in, especially with a Lavia. I also feel like you need an established player next to him as well.
Yeah, I think the more I think of it, and it might just be me being a bit mad because Fabinho looks like he's off and Lavia's actually got like a pair of legs on him and can run. He's actually like, I think he'll just be a massive boost for the team. I mean, like, I don't think anyone's expecting him to come in and pull trees up and be like a start and whatever else. But I feel like when Klopp has these players in mind, like the ones you mentioned, on paper they don't sound that good, but you've got to then factor in what can Klopp do with them? What can he make him be? What can he makes these players that you can list most of the signings we've made, and on paper they don't sound like the most sexy signing, but he turns them into that. So there's a track record there that we tend to do that with players, and if we give them the right platform. I think Amrabat, I think he's 27 next month. That doesn't fill me with joy, because I think someone around 23, 24 is Liverpool's sweet spot usually with players like that, where they're ready just to explode and to become what they're going to be. I mean, I said all of the names that we've signed that you tend to fit that bracket. But yeah, if Hendo goes as well, I think we definitely need 2. But it's just figuring out who that's going to be, because there's, like I said, the amount of the prices for players like the Caicedos. I think Melissa already said Caicedo's not even in the list. But I don't know if that's based on if just Fabinho goes or whether it would change if Hendo goes as well. I'm not sure, because it would depend on what they're willing to give us in terms of money as well. So if we get 40 for Fabinho, and if we manage to get 20 for Henderson, then we've got 60 mil there, along with maybe another 20 if we sell Phillips and Kelleher as well. So we've potentially got 80 million, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know, honestly. I think Calvin Phillips, I mean, that move still baffles me. It's just, like the face you're pulling there, I'm the exact same. When you really, like, I'm not sure he's went to City after being good for Leeds. He could potentially be a good signing for us, but there's a lot of variables in there because of the way last season went for them and whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to pick, because it's obviously very, very difficult to decide who's going to come in. And we need some. If Hendo and Fabinho go, you need basically a starter, and you need a little project player as well. So it's difficult. It's difficult to pick, I think.
Yeah, I think with the Calvin Phillips one, when I think of that, if I look back over his career, and don't get me wrong, I haven't seen much of it, but he hasn't had a full season yet in his professional career that he hasn't been injury free. And yes, okay, he might be transitioning into a bigger, stronger player, and his body might be changing. But for a player who's missed a lot of every season that he's been part of so far, just worries me. I kind of feel like that's just a bit of a name that you can easily throw in the conversation because he's not getting a game at City, to be honest with you, and he's homegrown. I'd be very disappointed if we blew a chunk of the money that we've got on Calvin Phillips, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, let's just obviously think back, and what you can say about Fabinho is he's one of the best players we've ever had, in my opinion. In that position, when Mascherano left, I thought we'll never get another Mascherano, and Fabinho has been just that player, if not as good or better. So it was a big name to fill. He's filled it, and he's done more than enough. Let's just touch on Henderson. I haven't had a chat with you about this yet, so I'm quite interested to hear what you say. Obviously, big news about him with a potential move to Saudi, and obviously big wages, a fee that we're asking for, they haven't quite met yet. And obviously the work he's done in the background in terms of the Rainbow Laces campaign and human rights. What's your mark on it? So if he goes tomorrow, what would you say about that? In my opinion, I've mentioned it before. human beings as well as footballers, and they do get a lot of stuff pushed onto them to front like campaigns such as them. Doesn't make it acceptable, but how do you feel about it if he goes?
Yeah, I watched a bit. I think it was Chris Pajak on Redman. I think summed it up pretty well, because I was kind of thinking the same thing. I think if it was the exact same circumstances and it was, I don't know, Milan for 20 million, you'd be like, right, 33 years old, he's been a captain for so long, won everything. We shake his hand and say thanks very much. We would have preferred at the end of last season with Bobby and Milner and whatever else, where you could have a proper goodbye, but you shake their hand, it's footy, it moves on, and these players have to move on eventually. Like Hendo would have been, if he stays, he's going to be a backup. He's not going to be getting the minutes that he wants. So if he's not happy with that, then fair enough. But yeah, it's the whole moving to where he would be moving, I think, that's the sticking point. And I think that alongside the timing as well. I think obviously you can't really help the timing, of course, with Gerrard going in there, and it's all probably happened so quickly. I don't think Klopp would have expected this to, there's wildest dreams for Fabinho and Hendo in the space of like a day or a day and a half for bids to be flying in. It's a bit of a mad one, but yeah, it just doesn't feel right to me. And I've saw loads of people tweeting about it, and I don't tend to get involved in like that type of stuff on Twitter, because it's not the right place to do it, because people are just going crazy on there, like, and I understand part of it. I agree with bits of it, disagree with some of it, but yeah, it doesn't sit well with me, the whole, and you know, like you said, you don't know if it's been something that he's been asked to front or asked to be a part of. You don't know. We don't know all of the ins and outs of it, so it's hard to comment on it. But just on the face of it, what we've seen him be involved in stuff like that, it doesn't fit with what he obviously believes and what he's portraying as what he believes online. So that's the only sticking point for me. But if it was, like I said, apart from that, it might be the right time for us to kind of move on, because we said last year how our midfield was non-existent. We didn't have a midfield. We were every week. I'm sure you were the same. Like, just saying, like, what's going on here? We need legs in there. It's not good enough. Blah 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 blah. We could say that about everyone, but the midfield was pretty horrific. So the overhaul was going to happen at some point. It just looks like it's going to happen in the space of 3 days on a random July weekend. So we'll just have to strap it in for the ride and see where it takes us.
But on Henderson, then, obviously, no one really expected this to come, and obviously no one expected this from Fabinho or Thiago or anyone that could come. It just stinks a little bit for me. Okay, a question for you then. If the club don't accept a bid for Henderson, where does he go from here as a captain of Liverpool Football Club?
I don't know. That's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because it's happened in the past, hasn't it, with like Stevie and whatever, putting in transfer requests and stuff like that. So it's not new, but I mean, Henderson hasn't put in a transfer request, anything like that. It hasn't happened officially like that. It's just obviously Stevie fancies a bit of that, so he's put a cheeky bid in for him, trying to get him for free or whatever else. We're asking for 10 or 20 mil. I don't know where he goes from here. I don't know. I think from what you read online, people are saying it's irreparable. The damage has been done. Get rid of him now. But then there's people saying, well, he's still a captain if he wants to. If his mind wasn't swayed or he was tempted or whatever because he wants more minutes, then I think that's fair enough for a footy player. It's just where he was going. I think that's why people are it's a bit murky. I think that's the only thing that kind of disrupts it a little bit. But I'm kind of in the middle. I think if he decides he wants to stay, then there's nothing we can do apart from embrace that and just be like, right, sound, that this will probably happen again next summer, where someone else will come for him and he'll leave eventually. So for me, I'm just kind of in the middle. I'm just going to be a boring bastard and sit on the fence and just say that if he wants to stay, sound. He probably won't get the minutes. If he's happy with that, then whatever. But we still need the signings regardless in there, because Fabinho's off and Hendo's not going to get the minutes he wants anyway. So we need to either embrace that or decide and make a very difficult decision and head out to join Stevie.
Yeah, I'm just worried for him now. I think there's so much what's come out in the press and so much that's come out in the news about him. There's no smoke without fire with stuff like this, and I kind of feel like he's sort of made his bed and he's got to lie in it now. So if the club don't accept the bid, he's got to be expecting a rough ride this season from supporters. And, you know, Jordan Henderson is a Liverpool legend, as is Fabinho. The difference is Fabinho's going there without any morals that have been out in the open world and everyone to see. Henderson's going there with all the information, like the stuff that he's fronted, the rainbow laces and everything else. So, yeah, I expect a rough ride for Jordan Henderson this season if he stays, and I kind of feel like he's put himself in a position where it's like there's no going back. It is what it is, and unfortunately, that's what he will be remembered as with a lot of people. He'll be remembered in my eyes as a Liverpool legend who's one of the most, if not the most successful captains of Liverpool's history. Obviously, Stevie's obviously up there and Souness, but you know, wherever he goes and whatever he does, I just wish it goes smoothly, and I just want it to be done sooner rather than later, because the longer this goes on, the uglier it gets for Henderson. Okay, Nick, thanks for your time on that, mate. That was just a quick, short and sweet one to get it out there for our thoughts on it. Who knows? The two of them might be here next week. The two of them might be gone next week. I'm sure we'll find out.
No, nice one. Yeah, it's just a mad one to try and wrap your head around. And the initial thought, like you can, like yesterday, I was like dead against Fabinho going, but then the more that kind of happens, you're like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, let's get rid of him then, 40 million, buy. Let's you've got to be ruthless as well. Like, there's because people are saying Klopp's not ruthless. So when he is a bit more ruthless, it's like we're not used to it, so it's weird. So it's like, yeah, it's I agree with you. Hendo's going to have, especially online, like a difficult time of it. So it's going to be a hard one for him to navigate. I think he maybe expected it to go a bit smoother. Like when he decided, yeah, I want to go, he probably expected it to be done within a day or two. So the fact that it hasn't been, and now it might come back to, I suppose, haunt him a little bit in terms of what maybe he's damaged a little bit of something that he's, proud of, I suppose. But yeah, difficult one. A difficult one for him, difficult one for everyone, I think, to kind of get used to. But yeah, appreciate you asking me on that. Appreciate that.
No problem. Catch up soon, mate, okay?
Nice one.
Thanks to everyone for listening in to today's podcast, and thank you to our amazing guests. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Don't forget to follow us on social media, twitter.com/The Road End Pod, and on Instagram, Instagram/The Road End Pod.